Started.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Council for Strategic Affairs Distinguished Monthly Lecture. We are going to have a presentation by Commodore Ranjit Rai today. Those of you who registered using our flyer probably saw this flyer. The topic for today's distinguished lecture is Maritime Balance of Power in the Indo-Pacific. Today is Saturday, October 25th, 2025. It is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in United States, and it is 7:30 p.m. in New Delhi, India, where Commodore Ranjit Rai is based. A little bit about Council for Strategic Affairs. Council imparts education in the field of international relations and strategic studies. CSA fosters discussion, dialogue, and debate on geopolitical issues. CSA encourages strategic studies in general to raise the level of awareness. We condemn terrorism in all forms worldwide. CSA aims to contribute towards world peace and prosperity. We do promote people-to-people contacts and track to diplomacy. As a think tank, we have an international outlook, and our focus is Indo-Pacific. Our activities include monthly roundtable discussion, usually on second Saturday of each month, and a distinguished lecture by a domain expert, usually on fourth Saturday of each month. We have a feature called one-on-one interview called Strategically Speaking with Dr. Adityanjee. We organize symposia, meetings, and conferences. We promote publication of articles on geopolitics and related subjects. We do have a summer internship program for college students and a fellowship training program in strategic studies. Those of you who are based in United States, we encourage you to support by donating to CSA. We are a United States-based 501c3 tax-exempt organization. So you already see actually Commodore Ranjit Rai. He is a distinguished practitioner, scholar of strategic issues. He has a master's in business, management degree from UK. He was a specialist navigator and Air Force trainer and controller. Leaving the Navy, he completed a ship management course in Ahmedabad and served as India's representative for USA's Lash Project Career Ship Corporation. He writes and speaks on maritime issues and broadcasts. He has been the vice president of the Indian National Maritime Foundation. He has authored multiple books, and his latest book actually was published on October 17, 2025. He has been Director of Naval Operations and Intelligence. He is one of the foremost maritime thinkers and brings the gravitas of a practitioner scholar. I am very pleased to say that he has appeared on the CSA platform several times. And for those of you who probably may not know, he actually runs a maritime museum inside his home in the basement, and I have seen that museum. So this is the Indo-Pacific region which we are talking about, and we are talking about actually maritime balance of power. And there are two major resident naval powers in this region. There are extra regional powers also present, but the major two resident naval powers are India and China. So I'm pretty sure he'll be talking about that. And this is the cover of his book that came on October 17th, India's Elephant Navy and China's Dragon Navy. So certainly it is India versus China. I'll just introduce the subject. At this time, China has the world's largest navy with more than 700 50 vessels in active service. The goal of the plan is PLA's Navy, is what is called TSN, 1,000 ships Navy. Chinese Navy is undergoing a rapid ongoing expansion. Its naval power makes it a dominant force in Indo-Pacific and beyond. Its fleet includes multiple aircraft carriers, amphibious ships, destroyers, frigates, corvettes, and submarines. In contrast to that, India's Navy is much smaller with around 300 naval assets. Despite being smaller, India is the largest and most active Navy in the Indian Ocean region, not necessarily in Indo-Pacific. India has been building its naval capacity with focus on domestic shipbuilding and commissioning of new warships and submarines. India's naval fleet includes major surface combatant submarines, growing number of domestically built vessels like domestically built INS Vikram. So before I hand over the platform to Commodore Ranjit Rai, some housekeeping rules. Please mute yourself to avoid noise interference. Change your cell phone to vibration mode. Please don't interrupt our esteemed speaker. Only those members of audience who identify themselves will be allowed to ask questions. All the questions are moderated through the chat room. Please be very specific and precise in asking a question. Don't write a lecture in the form of a monologue in the chat room. The program is being live streamed on our YouTube channel. It's also being recorded. It will be available on our website as well. Kindly share, subscribe, and like our YouTube channel. Again, CS is a registered 501c3 organization with the Internal Revenue Service in the US. We are a think tank, and we hope that our US-based audience will donate and support CSA. So without further ado, it's my honor and pleasure to give the platform to our esteemed speaker, Commodore Ranjit Rai. It's been a pleasure to have you, sir. Kindly unmute yourself and go ahead.
Well, good morning to all in America. Good evening to those of you in India. And I am in a city called Delhi. It's pretty polluted these days. And maybe from my voice, you'll make out that it is quite strong, the pollution. Thank you, Dr. Adityanjee, who has come down to my museum once. You have been doing outstanding work. And today's subject is something you have chosen rather important. Because the future of the world, they say, lies in the East. Economy has moved to the East. If the PowerPoint presentation can come up, I would be able to explain the situation in the world today and why the Indo-Pacific is so important. Could the PowerPoint presentation be put up? It was done earlier.
Just a second, sir. Is it visible?
Yeah, thank you. It's come up now. Well, let's begin. I must tell you, I lived with Chinese in Singapore. For 4 years, I learned a lot about them. They are like chalk and cheese for Indians. We are tall, we have curly hair, we have round eyes, we eat with our hands, we are brown. The Chinese, on the other hand, are yellow. They eat with chopsticks. They are shorter, they have straight hair, and then they have no religion. They have Confucianism and Taoism. And what I gathered, they believe in this life. And therefore, they want to achieve success in this life at any cost. And what is the cost today? The Indo-Pacific. because the world is in a fix. The world is in a flux. We have suddenly arrived with autocratic leaders in the world. Trump, he almost is like a cowboy. He makes policy like cowboys took out the pistol from their holster. Xi Jinping is working slowly with great power to achieve the Chinese dream. And he has sold the Chinese dream to the Chinese. They have become nationalists. India, too, is not far behind. We have a very wonderful leader, Prime Minister Modi. With Atma Nirbharta, he has put the military onto its place. With his Gujarati background, he has put the economy into place. Though we are much smaller than $30 trillion of America and the $19 trillion of China, our $4.5 trillion economy is moving, is respected. So we are discussing the maritime balance of power in the Indo-Pacific in today's discussion. Because the East is the center of gravity of the world's economy. It is moving so far east that even India, though it has a minor GDP of $4 trillion, it is producing an effect beyond its capacity. And its military capacity was shown in Operation Sindhu. Chinese equipment loaned to Pakistan has puzzled them why it did not work. The Chinese have got ports all over the world, Piraeus in Greece, Africa, but what's of interest in the Indo-Pacific is Hambantota. We have tried to make sure that we don't do business through Hambantota, but one day economy of Sri Lanka may turn around to make Hambantota a very rewardable port for its transit and for military action. It has a base in Pakistan. Many stories are coming out about Sindoor, and the latest one heard from Hindustan Times was the Indian Navy was going into action, but Pakistan spread the word that it may fire a missile on Bhuj. Well, we have not much except speculation. So we must look at the interest parties in the Indian Ocean or the Indo-Pacific. China is in residence and it wants to retain a pole position and complete interest in Taiwan. It is watching Japan. It is watching Korea, who are raising their military spending. ASEAN is a balancing factor. It is very friendly with China because it does big business. It is friendly with America because, again, it does business. And it is very friendly with India because it sees the future in India for stability and free navigation. So that is the picture. Next. The next slide, we tried to look at the definition, and Dr. Adityanjee has already given it. It's Southeast Asia, East Asia, Australia, Africa. But for us, for today, for interest, is actually the next slide I will show you. But it will not be far-fetched to state the future of the world will be decided on the waters of the Indo-Pacific. There may be a war in Russia and Ukraine. It doesn't affect the Indo-Pacific. In fact, China is gaining from it. India, too, has been exporting to countries its weapons, military products. So everybody in this side of the world is gaining. Russia is a very good friend. But China decided that it could not alone control America. And they're looking for an alternate to Western hegemony. With all due respects to Dr. Adityanjee in America, that Western hegemony is what worried the rest of the world. From a unipolar world, it has become bipolar, many people say, multipolar, with Europe coming up, Russia a dominant power, and India rising. So the Indo-Pacific is very clear what it is. India is very much involved, and if you see the next slide, you will understand where we stand. India. Next slide. But I'll just go back to explain what China is all about. Sorry, back to the next previous slide. To explain that China's name, I have been there 8 times, I've lived with them, I made friends with them. I am a down to earth person. Even in Delhi, I go to Kotla and drink tea with the men there, and the chaiwala tells me what's going on. Luckily, I was Director Naval Intelligence, and I learned that intelligence lies in the grassroots. China's name is actually Zhongyu. It is the Middle Kingdom. It believed that everybody else at that time was a lesser nation. It took tribute, practiced Confucianism and Taoism, and everyday's life was controlled by this. They thought the Silk Road is a source of wealth and a means to spread culture through trade. Their Great Wall symbolizes security. Today, it is their digital security. It's a wall you cannot penetrate. And I think India today is taking up the cudgels, and we have introduced Zoho instead of Gmail in the country, but the servers are still in America. They can pick up anything we write. So India celebrates antiquity, cultural unity, diversity, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the yogas, the religion, and its tryst with destiny. But it has an uncivilized neighborhood with Pakistan, and suddenly Bangladesh has turned turtle. Pandit Nehru's foreign policy was rhetoric, hoping the world would look at us as an anti-chauvinist contributing to non-alignment and punch shield. But the world has changed. It's a very practical, economic, military world. And he even gave China the seat in the United Nations Security Council, which we are now trying to get. And I'm sure the world is realizing that the United Nations is becoming important. It needs another power which will give it some direction. So we can go to the next slide to understand that this China has got ambitions, and therefore it did something very interesting. It knew that countries have grown on the maritime power, whether it was Netherlands, whether it was France, whether it was England, where the sun never set around the world. Then it was America. China decided that they do not have maritime space. But they brought in an 11 dash line and then a 9 dash line and said this belongs to us. To their good luck, they had engineering capability to convert rocks into islands and increase their EEZ. Illegally, UNCLOS has also said it. But in history, power decides international relations. Power decides what is legality, and they have made it legal. They are trying to control the 9 dash line, and for that they said they have to give priority to maritime issues. They have built the largest navy in the world, 367 warships, 3 aircraft carriers, and I can say with confidence now that Neil Harvey and I have written a book where every ship of Indian Navy and the Chinese Navy is given. Their aircraft carrier has got electronic catapult launch. They have shown it in a 4-minute video. We doubt everything about China, but when you go to China, only then can you believe the progress. My wife, when I took her to the first time to China, 2016, I took her to Pudong and I looked at the skyline of Pudong and I said, "Darling, does it look like New York? Aren't you impressed?" She said, "No." I looked at her and said, "You're not impressed." She said, "I'm not impressed. Why can't we do it in India?" Now, India is beginning to understand there has to be some autocracy, there has to be some effort, and Sindoor was the first example where India showed that it is deciding its own future. But the nine dash line has given China the South China Sea. To my mind and to many thinking minds, without war, no nation will be able to get back and give back to the ASEAN nations, which are right in front of you, their legal EEZ. China is very clever. They are decided on a conduct of conduct. How clever. They said, "Don't worry, we'll have a conduct amongst ourselves." Suddenly, they got Cambodia into their pocket. They got another ASEAN nation into their pocket. Malaysia did big business with China. So they said, now there is no code of conduct. With each nation, they decide and make sure that there is no major confrontation except with Philippines, because Philippines is being beefed up by United States of America, by Australia, which is its neighbor, and therefore Philippines thinks that it can have an opportunity to teach China a lesson. Well, I'm not going to conjecture, but they even bought the BrahMos missile. It is the world's best missile. And if you read my book, I have quoted Abdul Kalam, our president, whom I had met when I came from Singapore. Singapore wanted courses in missiles. He gave it to them. You know what he said in 2005? I'm longing to give India the best missile in the world. Shivatanu Pillai has written a book where he has quoted Abdul Kalam. The Navy found the Yakult missile, but Abdul Kalam and his friend, Dr. Shivatanu Pillai, 30 years in ISRO, they knew fuel, they know sports launches, had moved to DRDO. Russia had money lying in India. So India put 51%, Russia put 49%, and lo and behold, you had BrahMos. The Navy donated INS Rajput. No service does that. They have done that for the nuclear submarine also, donated a piece of land. And therefore, the BrahMos missile has seen fire in Sindoor. Not a single missile, though we don't have too many details from India, missed the target. But Pakistani social media has shown it to us. It has actually confused the Chinese, a supersonic missile. I went to the Defense News Conference in 2015 to Washington. Defense News was a big news. They had a big conference. Luckily, Dr. Shivatano Pillai gave me ties. He gave me calendars of BrahMos. He gave me details of BrahMos and said, go and present it, along with, of course, the other missiles, Prithvi, Akash. I mean, not Akash was not there. You know, I was laughed at. They said India with a supersonic missile will never get to its target. I began to doubt myself, having been in the Navy and fired P-15s of the 1971 vintage. At supersonic speed, where will it get the target? But there you are, technology. So now the 9-mine has got Philippines with BrahMos missiles. We are not very sure in anger what any country may do. So next slide will tell you where India is positioned. Sorry, I must finish with China. China has a massive shipbuilding capacity. They decided long ago that they will use, and I was amazed to see it, they will use manpower for shipbuilding wherever technology is not required. I was one of the lucky few to be able to go to their shipyards. They would not let me allow me to get out of the car, but see the warships on the side because they were merchant ships on the other side, and I was working for an American company which had ordered ships in China. Wherever there was no technology involved, human beings, trucks were moving plates from A to B. No technology. Where there was fitting with nuts and bolts, human beings would do it. But where technology was required, like painting the ship at high speed with robots, Chinese were doing it. So the cost of ships and quality of ships went amazingly fast. While in the West wanted to do everything with technology. I think America is the same today. We are also getting dependent on technology in India. So today I want to warn the world that Costco has got 700 merchant ships. It controls a lot of shipping lines. MSC, Mediterranean Shipping Corporation from Switzerland, it has also got almost the same number of ships. But if China takes over Taiwan like it took over Hong Kong, then in the Indo-Pacific, when it takes over the evergreen lines of Taiwan, it can hold the whole world transportation to ransom. President Trump is trying to revamp the USA shipbuilding in Maga, but costs in USA of labor, Dr. Adityanjee will know, services and equipment are uncontrollable with years of flagrancy. Today they are feeling the pinch and hence the word tariffs. Next slide. We now will possibly move into the next slide. And here we are in India. Jonggu, Middle Kingdom. India does not know. After Prime Minister Modi went recently to the summit to China, Tianjin, sorry, whether China is a friend or foe or a competitor, or the French word conquérant, sometimes competitor, sometimes friend. But India is in the luckiest position in the Indian Ocean. The Straits of Malacca, on the west, the Lakshadweep Islands, the Bab el Mandeb, we are able to make sure that nobody can enter this area or challenge us. Of course, shipping is allowed. We never stop any shipping, but we dare anybody to stop shipping. And our Navy has become so strong that they can make sure that Indian Ocean is what they call Straits of Malacca, China's dilemma, because they need energy, they need trade, and it has to pass through the Indian Ocean. So we are in a very sweet spot. If we can ramp up our economy, we can understand China because I can get threads that it seems the border between China and India is towards the settlement. We are not talking much about Aksai Chin. We are not talking much about Shaksam Valley in POK. Yes, our troops have faced 50,000 on each side, but they have de-escalated, sorry, they have disengaged, but they have not de-escalated. But from the words of our External Affairs Minister, which you will see in our slide, that Mr. Wang Yi of China, Mr. Lavrov of Russia, Mr. Rubio are actually the spokesmen. So I hope we are getting confidence that India is safe as a maritime nation. Next slide, please. So therefore, Neil Harvey and myself have written a book, but the second page of it tells you India holds the bolt and the key to the Malacca Straits, and it's called the Malacca Dilemma. Next slide, please. Thank you. Excellent presentation of slides and control by you. Because if you're speaking and you're doing slides and you're old like me, it can be confusing. Now, that is the picture of China. You know, the latest, they moved into Latin America, they have moved into Africa, and now they are mellowing. They are not bullying people there. Look at the transactions which India is looking forward to after the meeting in China of the summit and watching the Victory Day parade with massive new weapons. You will see these ships in my book. One of their most crazy ships is the Assault LPD. Day before yesterday, Defense Acquisition Council has, in its wisdom, finally approved LPDs. But then the funding has to be from the Air Force, because the Air Force puts their helicopters on board, the Army puts its tanks and men, the Navy cannot bear the cost of an LPD. We have been fighting over each other. We don't even have an amphibious school in India. So here is the picture of how we are doing very well in our area, but we have a horrible neighborhood with Pakistan, an unsure Afghanistan, and an unnecessary turn turtle Bangladesh. But China is moving into all these countries. It has Piraeus in Greece. It has got ports all over the world. Of course, Hambantota, Guada. So I hope we are able to understand their ambition and how they wish to achieve the China dream. Next slide. Now, this, I'm sorry I'm telling you, but the book is worth reading. 300 pages with every ship, with comments on how the ship came about, how the BrahMos missile came about, a chapter on Sindoor. We are hoping that we wrote it with some integrity. History belongs and forecast belong to those who rise to tell us as it is. And this book is about India and China and strengths and weaknesses also. So I can move on. I'm not selling the book. No. I'm telling you that a publication of this nature is available. Next slide, please. Neil Harvey. I never met him before. I wrote 2 books with him, but we met in Oxford for the first time. That's the book, and I'm very proud. Shri Sam Saran, he doesn't give a citation easily. Ambassador Mukherjee, ambassador 5 countries, including uh, UK. He could have been the foreign secretary, but sometimes in this government of India, people decide Raja Menon, Admiral Muralidharan, the thinker, Admiral Bhasin, who made the nuclear submarine, Air Marshal Bhojwani, Staff College in England, Staff College in Australia. Unfortunately, Air Force was in big trouble. He was going to be the next CNC. And I think the Air Chief, Tyagi Veda, called him and said, we need to sort out Air Force training. And of course, we've got this historian of England. So I'm very happy to say, as I congratulate and wish Navy a happy Diwali, and the 2 girls, Lieutenant Colonel Saloke and Tilo, who went round the world alone. I mean, you have to understand the mammoth achievement. I don't think China has managed that with their women. Next slide, please. So the Indo-Pacific belongs to all these countries. India is an aspirant. We are waiting to see 9 more ships. So I hope you're understanding the power of China, the rising power of some of our technology ships, and the confused position United States is in because it makes one statement one day, whether it is on tariffs, whether it's on friendship, whether it is on a threat to Venezuela, a threat to Canada, its next door neighbor. As a little bit of a thinker, I wonder what's going on. Your neighbor is supposed to be your best friend. They have intertwined their economies, and only in the answer session, Dr. Adityanjee can explain to us how is it that you turn against a neighbor like Canada? Next slide, please. I did mention that India's got a nuclear submarine. Unfortunately, we do not like to write about it because the Navy is only the drivers, like a taxi driver. The project belongs to the PMO and NSA. But do read this book on the BrahMos. It's such a success. But when this book came out, hardly anybody thought of it. But it tells you the story of a missile and a very fine man, Dr. Shivatanu Pillai, who sent me to America, and I was made fun of that how can a supersonic missile. Chakra tells you how our Navy spent 2.5 years with 5 captains to be trained. First, one was sent away. So the professionalism of the Indian Navy, and I challenged their bigger ships in nuclear submarine ships, their SSBNs, but China, I have written in my book with Neil, has not yet got its acts together because on the SSBN front, they have not tried to challenge the United States of America. Next slide, please. But these are very much uh, now, human beings make history. Mr. Patel cannot speak much, but he was in Larsen Toubro. He has given me a forward. He did the strategic programs of India. Dr. Sham Saran has written a book on China to explain China to you. I have not plagiarized, but I've taken many ideas from him. Uh, Mahendra Vaid writes, Ambassador Mukherjee, Raja Menon is known round the world as a thinker. Admiral Muralidharan is a silent hero. A MiG 29 pilot in the book has explained Indian Air Force and Chinese Air Force. They don't be afraid of Chinese Air Force. We have the finest pilots in the world. We have ability. And it is so interesting that today I believe Russians are going to send some people to India for training after Sindoor. This is the co-author. We spent time in Oxford in June to say we will produce this book. And already I'm having good response on Amazon. It should go on to ebook. And if Neil Harvey has the time and resources, he will convert about 10 pages of the book for the British and foreign audience. And I must thank my wife, who, having written 10 books, is almost at a point of divorce, but I know it will never happen. Next slide, please. Well, we have tried to push, and you must understand the leadership. The leadership of India. Prime Minister Modi, a very wonderful, ambitious leader, trying to control a country with diversity. We have no one language we can sing and cry together. Xi Jinping is lucky. One language and autocratic rule, because if you see the symbol of China or the symbol of Singapore, it is the lion. The lion is a benevolent animal. Our defense minister has really supported the prime minister. I was lucky to meet many Chinese leaders, but Shin Long, when I met him in Chief of the Naval Staff, took me around Yulin, his ship, more with the idea to get criticism of me of what I knew about the Indian Navy. I was rather clever, but I was very professional. I was able to talk to him about helicopter operations. My co-author, and I've said the elephant moves slowly. Our leadership today, especially in the Navy and with the chief CDS, I know I'm outspoken, but I have said it mildly to him also. Our CDS was appointed as a non-operational CDS of CDMA. But when Sindhu took place at a fast pace, the NSA was being ordered, guided by the Prime Minister. The NSA had to look to three chiefs, but he had a person like CDS, General Anil Chauhan, who was able to galvanize the three chiefs because he knew the equipment. The NSA knew the equipment. He has chaired the chiefs. Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, General Dwivedi, Admiral Dwivedi was Prime Minister himself said, "I'm sorry you didn't have a chance." So we can be very happy to know that we have now even got in Andamans Admiral Kocher, Navy officer, which is going to look after the strategic aspects. So we have a leadership which is in place and knows the challenge of the Indo-Pacific, which is what we are discussing today. Next. I'll go into the last two slides. You know, the leadership of China also is a very strong leadership. But if you keep reading, they keep changing. A lot of corruption at that high level. So Xi Jinping has a challenge before him that if he wants stability, he has to mellow. But I am nobody to say whether a powerful country like that can mellow. When the Arctic route opens, Russia controls part of it, China wants access. The question will be, will Indian Ocean lose importance to Indo-Pacific? Japan will export from the Arctic route. Korea will export from the Arctic route. China will export from the Arctic route. Russia will control that area. The Arctic countries are very worried. Canada, which also borders Alaska, America with Alaska, which they bought for, I think, $6 million long ago, is going to be the future, which will affect, not today, but in the coming decade, the Indo-Pacific and the fight for the Arctic, for the resources, and for the navigation. Next. Well, I'll end after I've spoken at times explaining in simple terms the challenge of India, how to tackle China, how to tackle America, how to tackle Pakistan. After all, Pakistan has got nuclear weapons. It's got missiles. If they let loose their missiles, which they could have possibly in Sindhu, which according to Trump he was very worried, and he made Vance talk to our Prime Minister, but nobody knows what exactly. But we have got a fine External Affairs Minister whose father was our guru of strategy. He is navigating us extremely well. But another man, Wang Yi, has been discussing India for over a decade. So he knows India, and therefore we should be very happy that our leadership and India, with the bolt and key to the Malacca Straits, has many plus points in the Indo-Pacific region, and we can become a say in the region. Thank you very much. It's been a privilege to tell you the little that I know, and sadly also, so any questions will be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Commodore Rai. It was a very fascinating presentation. Before I go on to the questions that are in the chat room, I have one comment slash suggestion and one question. So there were two maps that you displayed, and both were cartologically incorrect as far as Indian boundaries are concerned. And I would like you to pay some attention to that in future presentations, that we do not outsource maps that show incorrect boundaries of India in any international forum. So that's just a suggestion. We have to be a little sensitive. The question I have is, in your presentation, I did not hear anything about the tri-service base that China has developed now, and there are actually satellite photographs on the Coco Island. Do you want to bring that into your discussion?
The question of borders, we have been plagued. One of the reasons we have not been stable is the border of Pakistan and India. I mean, reams and reams have been written about it. Whether the British left us the challenge of Tibet, reams, and now Dalai Lama is a very big question. We have not been able to sort the sea border with Pakistan. I believe, and many people believe, there's resources between the two of us. Of course, legality. The Navy, I'm again outspoken, came to a resolution because you cannot make a border without three methods. One is from the land, one is from the center of a creek, navigable center of the creek, and finally, when you come from seaward, because the boundary pillars of the land are missing. And also, when Bombay was a big constituency, the British made Sir Creek, eastern side, the boundary. So thank you very much for bringing this subject up. The Navy is only plagued with the sea boundary. The Army has been busy with the land boundary. We came to a settlement with Bangladesh, but unfortunately, Bangladesh is moved into the lap away from India. I could speak on a subject which I know why it happened, many mistakes made, like one Trump is making with Canada. I mean, he's making Canada his enemy. Of course, Dr. Adityanjee and Americans will know what it is all about. But it's to common sense that for a small advertisement of Ronald Reagan, I mean, he's just closed the barrier with Canada.
Okay. So I'm going to read some questions from the chat room. And the first question is from Dr. Shilpa Bagade. Power decides international law, we observe how China did to increase its EEZ, economic exclusive zone. Is international law losing its significance?
I see the question is about the first question I see in the chat box is by Dr. Shilpa
Yeah, that
Bagade.
is what I meant.
Power
That's the
decides international law. We observe. Absolutely correct. International law has lost its significance. Have you seen what Israel is doing to Gaza? It's destroyed a country. It has killed 500,000 people. So this question is very easily answered. Yes, China's wolf warrior. I think I missed telling you. China's diplomacy and intelligence is outstanding. If you read the articles last few days, how many Chinese have made scientists in America marry them? I mean, yes, we do that even in India. But the wolf warrior in their embassies, they are very active. And having served in intelligence and contributed to op power, one has to be very ruthless with intelligence. Wherever you can get information, whether it be with money, whether it be with sex, whether it be with cajoling, whether it be in any other form, China has mastered the art. Of course, CIA is well known for what it did and which all countries it did what. So, wolf warrior is a wonderful term which has come into the world. And Harish Sinha, I think you have a good inkling of what intelligence is all about. Uh, it's a predatory model. You have put it very, very correctly. You know, Hinduism is slightly more softer. It's a gentlemanly religion, and our diversity makes sure we are kind. Well, maybe that's the answer for India. Uh, there's another question. I'll go quickly. Yes, I did not talk about it. I talked about the Malacca Straits, but when the port in Nicobar comes up, India will gain economically. Today, we have no deep water port in India. So we put our containers on small transshipment ships, which go to Fujairah in UAE, or go to Colombo, or go to Singapore to go to United States. So the container transshipment cost is high. India is economical. When our port in Nicobar comes up, it will have a military bearing, possibly missiles and drones, much easier to put because it's a developed area, and it will have a bigger economic aspect where transshipment to America will become cheaper. On a personal note, with Dr. Adityanjee may know, I worked for Waterman Steamship. Waterman Steamship had lash barges, 350-ton ships, which every military has, and America has got a maritime administration. They support some merchant ships which can be used in war. They were used in Iraq-Iran war when I lost my job. But during my time, we offered from Waterman Steamship of America, because investment had opened in 1991, 92, 93. Coca-Cola had come back, IBM came back. So my American bosses offered the government of India to do transshipment in Andamans. But at that time, no foreign investment was allowed in the Andamans. In fact, they were dissuading even many Indians to invest in Andamans. So I do not know the exact legal position today, but we are also now looking at FDI very carefully. China wants to do a lot of FDI in India, and this port will need some help from some countries.
last question is from Ankush Bhandari. China's hegemony is decreasing internationally as far as providing loans to countries. Will it come back to what it was a few years back? What are your thoughts on this? This is from Ankush Bhandari.
Well, Dr. Kusheshwar, my colleague, could answer it. What makes you think Chinese hegemony is decreasing. China is very
Well,
clever. They know when to go soft. Look at the reception they gave our Prime Minister for the summit. I mean, they forgot about what had happened in Galwan. They didn't even, and they gave him a VIP. They got President Putin there. The three of them walked together. So China's hegemony is something uh, कुछ हिंदी में बोले कि कुछ मीठा और कुछ कड़वा, but they know how to balance that. And having lived with the Chinese, I understand that. They, I will end with telling you, suppose Dr. Adityanjee, I was in Singapore, said, I'm sending you a friend to Singapore. Will you invite him for a meal? I would say, of course. I've got great respect for you. Your conferences, you came to India. I saw you, I met you. I know your vigor for strategic thinking. So I would say yes. And I'd invite a Chinese. You know what he will say to me? Oh my God, who is this man? Do you know him? I said, no. But I know Dr. Adityanjee. Must be his friend. He said, no, no, no. Don't invite him. He will see how you live. So China's hegemony knows how to be hard. They go and hit the Philippines hard, their ships, then again turn soft and say, let's talk.
thank you. At this juncture, I am going to invite Admiral Dr. Sanatan Kulshrestha to give a few comments. Let's get the benefit of his being present in the audience. Admiral Dr. Kulshrestha, please. Can you unmute yourself, sir?
Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind, Ranjit, sir. How are you, sir? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Adityanjee, for including me for some comments. I have hardly any comments as far as the talk by our senior Ranjit sir is there, because he is the expert and super expert, I will say, on China. And he has been to China so many times. His insights are very good, very clear. But there are a few points which I think he did not have the time to cover, is how China has been making inroads into ports and harbors of not only island nations in the Pacific, but also these South American countries. Now, that engagement is also seen in the European countries. One of the ports he had referred was in Greece, but there are some other facilities. The Chinese may not be owning the ports directly, but their companies have got uh, substantial investments in those ports. I had done a study of the exports of weapons by China, and in that study, it came out that China is exporting to countries which have Chinese controlled ports or Chinese assisted ports, and also those countries who are neighbors to such countries, or countries which are having land boundaries with such countries. So we can see the web of arms export which is being spread by China. Now, the arms export I am quoting is much more than the energy export and other goods and services export, because it makes you a slave for 30 to 40 years at a time. Because you will be dependent upon spares, you will be dependent upon upgrade, you will be dependent upon any midlife repair and life extension, as we call it in the Navy. So those are my comments, and one should do a reasonably deep study into this. My study only was valid because it was only on the open source side. I do not know the actual things which are happening. Maybe Ranjit sir can put a light on that.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Admiral Dr. Kulshrestha. We are coming to end of our program. My heartfelt thanks to Commodore Ranjit Rai for giving a very, informative lecture to our CSA audience. As I had said in the introduction, this is not the first time he has appeared on our platform. We hope that he will continue to grace our platform on future occasions, participating in various roundtable discussions as well as distinguished lectures. And we wish that he keeps on writing new books every year. He has been writing very prolifically. I think they are very good for education of the future strategic thinkers. So at least something is put in, black and white in concrete, memorialize all this wisdom and information for the future generations. My thanks to our audience members that on a weekend, they took out time to attend to this lecture. And finally, my thanks to Team CSA, Mr. Ripudaman Pachori and Mr. Rajiv Verma. These are the people who work from the background, making these kind of events possible. And as you saw that when Commodore Rai was giving his lecture, Ripudaman Pachori was managing the PowerPoint presentation, totally in sync with his lecture. So lots of thanks to Ripudaman Pachori. And with that, I bring the session to an end. And again, my heartfelt thanks